different tank builds you want in your arsenal when it comes to being part of our clan. A Stagger tank build and a Key tank build. And both of these builds involve the final boss in Iron Horse. Both of these things involve the Iron Horse. You have one Key tank and one Stagger tank each time you run through Iron Horse. So, very end, very last boss, Stagger and Key tank. Starting off here in this one, let me go ahead and pull up my Key tank build. Have it saved and load out, by the way. That's a good thing to do, is just save them all as rage. You can see I got my DPS demo, DPS crossbow, skill damage build. Just real basic fun to have. Forgot about the mod slot there. But you see I've got my heals build, which we'll go over here at a certain point in time. But we've got a Key tank and a Stagger tank. I'm going to put on my Key tank. I'm going to explain to you the basics of a tank build. Obviously, you want to get your armor as high as possible. As you can see on the left, right to the left of my holster, you'll see armor at 1.9 million. 1.9 million armor. This is the Key tank. So what this tank's goal is to be able to face tank or take a bunch of damage from a Chunga in the end phase of Iron Horse, pick up a key, and go all the way back to a giant turret. So you're going to be taking a lot of damage going back and forth. There's explosions, there's NPCs, there's even laser-guided machine guns on the side of the tank. So you got to be on the side of the train that you're trying to kill Iron Horse. So you are in desperate need of being able to take a lot of damage. You don't have to dish out a ton. You'd like to be able to, but the whole key is to be able to take a bunch of damage, be able to help accomplish some of the moving back and forth that goes on. So, the basics of a tank build. Some of the armor sets we have, Golden Gear is one of them. 3-piece Golden Gear will get you not only 1% armor regen, but 5% total armor. That's a very important idea, because the percentage of armor you have, not only does it benefit you in having armor, but one of the talents that you have and some of the other talents you'll have, in addition to that, will help give your allies a percentage of your armor. So the more armor you have, the more armor you'll be giving your allies in times of need. So the Golden Gear, 3-piece, status effect, armor regen, total armor. You can see this is not ideal. I could optimize that armor to be a little higher. I've had this for a long time. Haven't really looked for more pieces to this build in particular. I probably need to kind of get it a little bit more optimized. I put protection from elites because you never know. It's always a good thing to put on there. I could also put armor regen or blind resistance or explosive resistance, all kinds of stuff there. So you just really put whatever mod you think suits your fancy. I like protection from elites just because it's helpful. The other thing is this, 2-piece Gila Guard. You've got Golden Gear and Gila Guard. Okay, Gila Guard, one of them gives you total armor, 5% total armor again, so that gives you plus 10% overall total armor between the two sets, and plus 10% health. Now, I have rolled explosive resistance on a lot of my pieces because when you are in that final boss in Iron Horse, there are so many explosions, and it's super helpful to have explosive resistance. There are grenaders, there are mortars on the train, there is Morozova, who's the boss, who shoots off rockets if she gets a chance to, which is what the Stagger tank is all about preventing, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So, you've got the 2-piece Gila Guard, 3-piece Golden Gear, and here's a little wrinkle I like to use. That not everybody uses this. Other people have plenty of other options as to what they like to do. But I love running Sawyer's knee pads with this. And the reason why is because you increase your total weapon damage by 3% each second you are not moving. So if you stand still, if you're standing still face tanking a tank, you will gain weapon damage for each time you are not moving. It stacks up to 10 times. So you could get plus 30% weapon damage just by standing still. It has a God roll armor on it. It's got explosive resistance. It's got health, which is great. The other thing is this. You cannot be staggered by explosions. Period. Which means that when Morozova's coming after you or when something else is going on around you, you can continue to stay upright and tank, which is very, very important. So I like using them. Plus, not only that, but they bring a lot of armor to you. So the whole goal of this is just to be able to absorb as much damage as humanly possible. And the shield you're using, the skills, I use the Reviver Hive, and then I use the Ballistic Shield. The Ballistic Shield, I put a whole lot of mods on there that include shield health and shield regeneration, active regeneration. As you can see, it's a tier 6 health, skill tier 6 shield. Then it gives it 120% active regeneration, plus 400% shield health, and 40% holstered regeneration. That does a whole lot of help for you. So basically, unless you're getting hit from about 20 different places, which can happen on Iron Horse, you're going to have a lot of help there. Plus the firewall specialization gives you a boost as well. I put on the Scorpio shotgun here, and I have the shield splinter, which is great. If you have access to one of those, or if one of those pops up in one of the vendors, which it did for me, go on ahead and pick that bad boy up. It's just a great gun to have. The plus 6% damage to armor and Perfect Optimist is just solid for what you have. You don't do a ton of damage, but you're able to peg somebody and knock them off their spot, which is good. And of course, this has a whole bunch of effects to it, which synergize really well with the talent. The reason why I have Scorpio there, because you apply status effects. This is really really good here too. For talents, let's go over talents real quick. For talents on the key tank, I use Vanguard. The Point Man has perfect Vanguard, but if you don't have perfect Vanguard, if you just find a combination of these pieces here, the Golan Gear and the Gila Guard, as long as you have Vanguard, anytime I deploy my shield is invulnerable for 5 seconds, and it grants 50% of my armor as total armor to all other allies. All other allies, doesn't matter where they are, for 20 seconds, which means that after, and by the way, cooldown is 25 seconds, so if I deploy it and put it away, they will only be without that bonus armor of almost 1 million armor to all of my allies for only about 5 seconds, if you count that correctly. So if I have it up for 20 seconds, and then all of a sudden I put it down and bring it back out after 25 seconds, boom, they get it again. So they constantly have 1 million armor because of Perfect Vanguard. I forget what Vanguard is. I think it's 40%, it might even be 35. But either way, if you get your hands on a Point Man, the named chest piece from Gila Guard, you're in good shape. So this is the key tank. This is what it looks like. This is what it does. Whatever pistol you want to run, some people run the Liberty, some people run the Regulus. I like running the Card TDI Custom because it is just an awesome pistol. And you get the in-sync, which is automatically procced because you have your shield out, which is wonderful. And the Scorpio is just, well, it's just a beast. So I like running that. Now, the other tank is a Stagger tank, and it has 2 different pieces here. One thing I added in here to see how that would go. Obviously, I haven't put on the other backpack mod, but let me talk about the backpack talent, because it is shared amongst both builds. It is the Protector. When your shield is damaged, gain 5% bonus armor, and all other allies gain 15% of your armor as bonus armor for 3 seconds. So when your shield is damaged, which will be damaged a lot, it basically means you're going to be giving bonus armor 15%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at how much armor I have on this build in particular, I have 2 million armor. I went up 0.1% over what I did, and I don't even filled its empty gear slot yet. But this gives an enormous amount of help to all of your allies, and it keeps me as well within that 5% total armor. Of course, I had to replace some things, so I don't get the plus 10% health, but that's okay because I have more armor. And I've got this to help all my teammates out, okay? So they're getting bonus armor there. If both of you are running Protector, and both of you have your shield out, both tanks and Iron Horse, you're actually getting 30% of 2 million armor, if you think about it, if 2 tanks are running around. Then you use the tardigrade chest piece. Whenever you or any ally's armor breaks, they gain 80% of your armor as bonus armor for 10 seconds. And each ally can only have that every 45 seconds. Killing an enemy with your specialization weapon removes this cooldown for all allies. That's not necessarily the most important part there, but just the fact that whenever one of your allies' armor breaks and they get 85% of 2 million armor, that's pretty dang good on break. So that helps with everybody else around you, because you're not going to be using your shield as often when you use this build. You will in the beginning, which is why I have the TDI Custom and the Shield Splinter. But what is different here is not only the tardigrade and the amount of armor you have, but the weapon you're using. And unfortunately, to unlock this weapon, you has to drop from the Iron Horse raid at the end. Okay, that's the unfortunate thing about this build, is that it does require the Ravenous to be able to stagger. The reason why you stagger with the Ravenous is because on trigger pull, you fire both barrels at once, and you basically shoot a primer into the enemy. And then you click on your stick, and it switches from one shoulder to the next. Third-person shooter, you know what that looks like. And as you pile up primers from one shoulder, when you switch to the other and you fire and hit the enemy, the primers that you've been firing from the opposite shoulder go off, and they give you either shield or do explosive damage. When they do explosive damage, like any other explosion in the game, it staggers the enemy. So there's a particular part when the boss Marzova is going around stalking all of our allies. And she doesn't do a whole lot of shooting, but she shocks them, and then she'll turn around and she'll take out her rocket launcher and she'll attempt to shoot her rockets, homing in on many of our allies. And our goal during that time is to prime her with a couple of bullets, 1 or 2. I usually do about 3, and then switch shoulders, so that way we have primed with explosive, and then we detonate with the left shoulder, and then that causes her to stagger, and then she cannot get the rockets off in time. That is our goal. So that's why the Ravenous is used specifically for that purpose of staggering. Now, what I did, not only did I have 2.0 armor, but I rolled armor onto one of the Fox's Prayers that I had. Just happened to have really good hazard protection roll. And so I rolled that on there as well to get the plus 10% rifle damage and 8% damage target out of cover. So if I need help doing some things with ads, I get that plus 8% damage to target out of cover, plus 10% rifle damage, which means I can do a little bit of damage with my rifle if I absolutely have to have it. Of course, I have the firewall here, and I'm not going to claim to know if that's the best specialization right now. You can certainly talk to the community and see which ones they use and why. But that's the rundown of the Stagger tank and the Key tank. Of course, we're using a Bulwark shield, and we've got the Reviver Hive as well. So those are just your, this is your run-of-the-mill tank build. Like I said, this is the Stagger tank, and you've got the Key tank there as well. Remember, I like Sawyer's knee pads. Doesn't necessarily have to be that way. You don't have to have the Point Man, but if you have something of these two gear sets, Gila Guard or Golan gear, that have a Vanguard on them, and then try to get Protector on your backpack. There's some other backpack talents you could have as well that are pretty decent, but I think this one is probably the most beneficial to the tank build that we're running. So that's the rundown of the tank. If you have any questions, of course, you can contact anyone in the community, or you can put it in the comments below. Thank you so much for